people do business with people they know and like. And I use this phrase sometimes. What's the shape of your circle? Like, think about your circle, your network. What shape is it? If you're just networking with just only black folk in Houston, or black people in Texas, you're missing opportunity to expand your circle into other networks, not just across America, but around the world. We have to, I think, re-examine how we approach business. We got to show up, I think, in the day of technology and AI and how we compete through e-commerce. We got to show up in these places. And some of that is on us to step up and show up and make the commitment to sacrifice to do the things that it takes to succeed and grow.
Money don't grow on trees, but I still believe I can achieve. Cause cash rules everything around me, around me, around me, around me. Money don't grow on trees, but I still believe I can achieve. Cause cash rules everything around me, around me, around me, around me. Money don't grow on trees, but I still believe that I can achieve. Cause cash rules everything around me, around me, around me, around me.
Thank you guys for being here today for this live episode of the Black Money Tree Podcast. We're so blessed to have Rick Wade with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Certainly the Chamber is an advocate for business, and we appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, so the first question I'm going to ask, I would argue that most of the people that are here that come out to Black Expo and start businesses, they have dreams of grandeur. They're trying to become rich. They're trying to make money. The Houston Chronicle actually did an article. It was based upon a Charles Schwab survey that said it takes $2.3 million to be rich. So the first question is, do you agree with that? Do you think it's $2.3 million is rich, and how do you define rich?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's 2.3 million or 1 million or 100,000, but I think it's relative. I mean, how you think about being rich is not only measured, I think, by wealth, but it's measured by character, it's measured by your relationships, it's measured by all of those things. Because one thing to have, $1 billion, but do you have the relationships to get to 10 billion? Do you have the richness of those relationships? So I don't know the number. I don't know how to define numerically what being rich means. I mean, maybe you could tell me you're rich. So I'm not there yet by that definition, that number you gave me. But I would argue that I'm rich in a whole lot of other ways.
Well, I think if you want to limit it to just finances and material things, I don't think 2.3. Well, first off, you got to ask: is that 2.3 a year, or is that 2.3 just liquid cash?
Right.
If it's just liquid cash, if you don't manage that money right, then no, you ain't rich. You're gonna be gone. But if you know what to do with it, then you could probably keep that sustaining. I look at cash flow, sustainability.
Yeah. Oh, is it assets? I mean, is it real estate? What is it? That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think collectively, I would argue again that the definition of being rich can include so many components as you think about that. It's just not cash flow, network, how much money in the bank, but what's the value of all of your assets?
Yeah. Now, you are with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and you're a black man. So I know a lot of people, and even early on when we met, I kept saying, "Oh, he's with the Black Chamber," because people just kind of assume that.
That's right.
So talk about that. Your role is, you're the U.S. Chamber. Do you get that a lot, and is that frustrating at all for you?
I get it a lot. It's not frustrating, and a lot of people don't know. But the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is the world's largest business organization. We represent 3 million companies of every industry, sector, size across the United States. But I do get that. And, listen, we're a 100-year-old business organization. And in a 100-year-old business organization, I'm the first and only highest-ranking African-American there. And so it is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't get frustrated about it. Part of my job is to bring more of us into the network of this richness.
Yeah.
So that's what I do every day, man. And, and the fact is, there are 2 black chambers, the National Black Chamber, the U.S. Black Chamber, and quite frankly, the oldest black business organization in America, the National Business League, which was founded by Booker T. Washington in the early 1900s. I work with all of them. I work with the Hispanic Chamber, the Asian Chamber, the Native American Chambers. Because the reality is that, our agenda is the same. It's just that we got to be more inclusive in our work for free enterprise and to grow companies and to do the things that we do. I need more black businesses in the room. When we are, and some of you may or may not know, we're the world's biggest lobbying advocacy organization for companies. I need to see more of us testifying on Capitol Hill when it comes to issues that affect us in business. Testifying in the state capitol, being engaged in the local, state, and national level. So that's what we do. We're the biggest voice and advocate for America's companies.
So let me ask you your opinion on something that I haven't asked a lot of people, but it seems like you have the expertise to answer. We're Texas Black Expo. We saw a problem. We're trying to meet that problem for a specific community. Typically around this year, we start getting emails and calls and people telling us that we're racist because we have a black expo. And they say, what if we have a white expo? So that being said, you're with the U.S. Chamber. You say they have the same mission as the Black Chamber, the National Business League. Do you think that that's in any way, I think I know the answer, but racist? Do you think that there's a need for a black chamber if there's a U.S. chamber? Talk a little bit about that.
Listen, at the end of the day, business is business. Yep. Business is green. But I can't deny I'm a black man. I mean, I am who I am. So I don't really get caught up, Jerome, in whether black, white, chambers, or the reality is, it is about breaking down those barriers and whatever perceptions and stereotypes we have with each other so we can do business together to get that bag, to get that green. Yeah. That's just the way I look at the world. I mean, I grew up in the Deep South at a time when there were still vestiges of legal segregation. Being bused because I couldn't go to elementary school with my white friends. I remember some days of colored-only signs. But yet, I also was senior advisor and architect of the first black president's campaign in the United States of America, Barack Obama. Yeah. So I know what it means to overcome these racial stereotypes and don't fall for the hokey doke. Yeah. Right? Don't fall in that trap. So we should be proud that you are the black business owners, and this is the Texas Black Business Expo. But we also should be optimistic and looking forward to how we can build relationships, not just with white America, but Asians and Europeans and Africans all around the world. I mean, that's just how I have to operate. That's how I think, that we're limited sometimes by these restrictions that others place on us, as opposed to staying focused, as I always say, on the donut, not the hole.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Let's give it up for Rick. So, kind of continuing down that line, with Black Expo, most of the people that we advocate for and come in contact with are black business owners. We do have some non-blacks, but most of them are black. You are dealing and going in rooms that are not predominantly black. Talk a little bit about the differences that you see in our businesses, their businesses, whether it be white, Asian, or others, and kind of critique and compare, and what are some of the things we can learn from them and you think they can learn from us?
Well, I don't know that there are necessarily differences in the kinds of businesses. There's certainly differences in the scale of businesses. There's differences in the relationships that others may have that we don't. There's differences in how we think about growth. But you got to remember, they created the Playbook, 400 or 500 years ago. And so for me, it is really about how can I bring the knowledge I have, the relationships I have to bear upon our communities and our businesses so that we too can level the playing field and compete the way that others. There's a difference in mindset. But some of that is because we've not been exposed. And one of my passions is international trade. We don't have relationships with the Saudis so we can understand foreign direct investment. I led trade missions, many of them, when I worked for President Obama at the Department of Commerce. And on those trade missions to India and China, I didn't see black businesses. But I work hard now to bring us into that conversation, to bring us in those relationships so that we can compete just as others, just as the Googles, the Walmarts, and the technology companies. Our problem is not lack of businesses and lack of being innovative. we've been innovators out of necessity for history. It's just how do we take that to the next level of growth and scale so that we can become the big multi-million-dollar multinational corporations that we now are just suppliers. We need to start owning those and being those toward the future.
So with that, let's stay right there. So you said we need to take it to the next level. What do we need to do to take it to the next level? How do we take it to the next level?
Well, breaking down some of the barriers that exist. For example, we know that access to capital is still the #1 challenge. And that's just not debt. That's just not lending from traditional banks and financial institutions. But when you think about venture capital, black folks still get less than 1% or 2% of all venture. I mentioned the area of foreign investment. That's a big deal that we don't understand. That's the flow of incoming capital from other countries and investors in America. So some of this, it really is about educating our people and building the relationships with these institutions so that we can compete. So breaking capital, I mean, I heard a sister say on the previous panel, it is about relationships. People do business with people they know and like. And I use this phrase sometimes. What's the shape of your circle? And now, don't miss what I'm saying. That like think about your circle, your network. What shape is it? If you're just networking with just only black folk in Houston or black people in Texas, you're missing opportunity to expand your circle into other networks, not just across America but around the world. So we have to, I think, re-examine how we approach business. We got to show up, I think, in the day of technology and AI and how we compete through e-commerce. We got to show up in these places. And some of that is on us to step up and show up and make the commitment to sacrifice to do the things that it takes to succeed and grow. This is no criticism, but it's a reality based on my experience in meeting with so many black-owned companies across America. And some of it is you're going to really put in the grit and the grind to stay in the race, to stay in it for the long haul. And we know we have it in us, but I would tell you, some of us don't show up as much as we should be showing up. And that's just a reality. And when we show up, we got to make sure we got our business tight, a business plan, our flow of capital. Can we answer the tough questions in order to compete for the contracts and to win?
So how do we get our businesses, and let me say this, I'm starting to learn what you're saying. Sometimes I do a lot of real estate development, and sometimes, like you said, access to capital. But once I started learning DSC and debt service coverage ratio, I just completed a program in private equity from Wharton, and I learned about the multiples. So now I've kind of learned,
right.
Oh, this is what they're looking for. This is what they want.
That's right. Right.
So what's the role of education in that? Or is it more just kind of systemic obstacles that's put in our way because of race?
Well, I think I think a big part of it is education. I mean, the systemic obstacles have existed for how long? I mean, we can't keep saying it's systemic obstacles. We got to figure out how to break down those obstacles. Some of that is, a big part of that is our knowledge and expanding how we think, not only of ourselves, but to your point, you went back and you got that knowledge. And the other part is how we lift as we climb. We got to cascade that knowledge back down. And that's why I spend a lot of time traveling and doing these types of forums and events all over America, because I think it's my responsibility to bring back that knowledge to my people. So a lot of it is knowledge, man. And a lot of it is just, opening the doors. We ain't got to be the crabs in the barrel. Let's own the barrel and bring as many crabs up as we can.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. How did you get in your role? What made you want to go to the U.S. Chamber? And how did you get to where you are today?
Well, one, I've been sort of an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I mean, me and my younger brother used to pull our little wagon across the community and sell, back then, redeemable soda bottles so that we can help contribute to our family because we were poor. So the idea of an entrepreneurial spirit, first of all, has always been inside me. Secondly, I didn't plan to be at the U.S. Chamber. And I'm not the guy. if you want to look at the template for just staying in one place, that's not me. I've probably been in a job. I've never been in a job more than 3 years. It's the first time I've been in one job at the U.S. Chamber. But a big reason I think I got there because of my experience at the U.S. Department of Commerce during the Obama administration, when I got really involved in at the Commerce Department in leading business missions around the world in policy issues and I saw that we're not as much engaged in the policy side of business as we should be. And it became my passion. And an opportunity was open at the U.S. Chamber, and I started there as a consultant because I had my own company at the time. And my first responsibility at the Chamber was to build more ties and partnerships and relationships across diverse communities. And now I'm 8 years in as Senior Vice President of the world's largest business organization, working across every industry and sector across America's economy.
Yeah. Awesome. So go back to international business, because I know that's your passion. What is it about international business that makes you so passionate about that? And then, of course, bringing that back to communities of color.
So I answered that by saying, that old riddle, that question is, why did the bank robber rob the bank? Okay. Why did the bank robber rob the bank?
That's where the money is.
That's where the money is.
Yeah.
95% of the world's consumers live outside the United States. 95%. So if you think about where the customers are, where the consumers are, where your clients are, it's not in the United States. So I use that analogy of why the bank robber robbed the bank, because we have to go where the customers are. And I think that's an incredibly important piece of, it has to be about growth strategy. How can I sell my products and services to those 95% of people who live outside the United States? No matter what that is. How do I learn how to export? How do I learn about trade missions? How do I learn about access to capital, resources we don't even know that exist in our own government, like EXIM Bank, the Export-Import Bank, that actually finances your deals. The Department of Commerce, Office of Foreign Commercial Services, dedicated people within the embassies across the world, and their number one job is to take your business, Jerome, and get you access to those opportunities in China and India and Japan, all around the world. So that's why I become passionate about this. One, because I know there's a knowledge gap. And two, I believe that our growth opportunity is global. And don't sleep on the continent of Africa. I spend a lot of time in Africa. We have a whole initiative called Advance with Africa. Africa population, as many of you may know, the average age is 19 years of age. By 2050, Africa's population will be 2.5 billion population, representing 25% of the world's population. Why is that important? Because if we, as my grandmother used to say, if we all get together, if we understand this diaspora, what it really means, Black Americans working with Nigerians and Cameroon and Ghanaians, that's a powerful network to bring not only investment to the continent of Africa, to do business with Africa, critical minerals. Think of cocoa. Think of all of the products, the raw products and materials that come from the continent. But yet we're not in the game. All of the major corporations are. Hershey's, all that good chocolate y'all eat. Cocoa comes from Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah. So we have to think about global. And I think the low-hanging fruit for us as Black businesses is Africa. NBA expanding on the continent of Africa. Think about the supply chain that comes with that. The stadiums that must be built in the future. Ticketing, concessions. So across every sector, I think Africa is rich. And the one common denominator that I see when I go to the continent, everybody has a cell phone. So you can do business now. Through e-commerce right there on that digital device. But you got to show up. We have to go there. We have to be exposed. We have to be in relationships so that we can do business across the diaspora and do business with each other. So I'm passionate about international trade because that's where the customers and consumers are.
Yeah. So go back to what you said, doing business with each other here at home. Of course, that's what Black Expo is about, bringing us together. That's what last night was about.
Right.
Talk about the importance of those type of events and events like this and people coming out and support.
They're incredibly important. And thank you for inviting me, because this is my first Texas Black Expo. I've been to others across the country. I want to figure out how we can partner with you and do more. I make that commitment. But they're incredibly important, because I think they're important for obvious reasons. That we are proud that we are Black-owned businesses, period. So just to celebrate and to showcase and highlight the success of the Black entrepreneurship, where we come from and where we are today, that's what an expo is about. The relationships, the networks, the knowledge, the panels, dropping that knowledge so people can learn. And then it's on them to go back and execute. And so I think they're incredibly important. And in this day of division and attacks on, we ought not be running from that. We should be running to our reality, that we're proud African Americans, Black Americans, and that we do contribute to America's economy. And we can do even more. So I love Black Expos for that reason. Yeah. Not just the food, everything else that come with it. You make good people. I met a sister yesterday. She told me she has a cookie. I'm gonna embarrass her, but she has a cookie company. Yeah. And I said, well, what kind of cookie you make? Chocolate chip, peanut butter. That's my. So she bought me a box of cookies. So y'all, I'm gonna try these cookies out. I'm gonna have to try to get them in Walmart and Kroger and get me some equity stake in that. See, that's how it works, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
But we are in a deliberate way, and I look forward to talking with you about this and making sure. But I am putting together a very unique initiative to get more small businesses, and certainly Black, connected to corporate supply chains, because we represent 3 million companies. So that's one tangible way that I think the U.S. Chamber, you will see adding more value and getting more small business connected to domestic and corporate supply chains. So listen out for something that we'll be announcing around corporate supply chains.
So we gotta go to the elephant in the room. This will be the last question. Of course, DEI. You just talked about the program, getting the small businesses, Are you able to openly say, I'm trying to help Black business, or is it just more about, hey, this is a good business, they doing good business? Can you openly kind of push your?
We're openly trying to help all businesses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So but you're strategically making sure you're represented at places where everybody has access, and anybody that's available, you can push them through.
Absolutely, right. And again, as I started earlier, I'm undeniable, a strong, powerful, proud Black man. Yeah. Period. So do I have to say I'm Black? And I'm proud. I'm trying to laugh at this pointing into something here about, and I know John Bryan probably agree with this. You got to be careful about these words. Yeah. It really is the action, it's the work. Yeah. And not get caught up in all these acronyms. Focus on the donut, not the hole. Yeah. That's it. And the good thing that I can't tell you how many CEOs and companies I met with and still meet with on this. The work will continue. But let's not get caught up in the politics of what's happening, that it becomes a distraction and taking our eye off the ball and the prize. Yeah. And that's the economic opportunity that not only we are entitled to, but that we deserve. Yeah. And so let's stay focused on that. I don't get caught up in all this. I mean, I'm part politician, business owner, preacher. I can be anything you want me to be. Yeah. I can hoop too.
Awesome. Give it up for Rick Wade.